Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline Magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers, where each week I invite a panel of experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's going on in their own individual business sector and their own individual businesses, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. If you like the show, please like, share, and subscribe, and let me introduce you to the gang. We've got Mike Mellor, who's the director and owner of Quella Bikes, based in Waterwells. We've got Roger White, managing director and owner of Severnside Software. Cathryn Hage is a marketing and freelancer and owns Pentagon PR and a trustee of the Pied Piper Appeal. And finally, not least, we've got Darren Stephens, managing director and owner of Prestbury Marketing. Good morning, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining us today. I'm going to quickly whip through the front pages of the newspapers. I'm just going to share the screen and get it up a second. Whoops, a daisy. Here we go. And there we go. Right. Okay. Starting with the eye. PM's plan for the cost of living crisis delayed by Downing Street turmoil. The Guardian. Treasury alarm at PM refuses to confirm national insurance rise. The Daily Express. Boris allies don't repeat the Thatcher betrayal. Unfortunately, we're all old enough to remember that.
Yeah.
The Financial Times, new Russian gas projects face sanctions if Ukraine is invaded. The Times, I love this, the old Donald Trump there, but we'll leave that for now. US sounds alarm over Russian cash in London. The Daily Telegraph, work from home tax loophole to be closed. I think this will ring a lot of alarm bells. The Metro, Plan A is okay. Look at that picture down there as everyone's back on the trains.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The Daily Mail, 600 Whitehall fat cats paid over 150,000. The Daily Mirror, Palace's sex trial fear. The Star, the Loch Ness monster, disoriented beast seen 600 miles. Anyway, I just love the Daily Star. It's so fantastic at the moment. Anyway, right, let's go to you all individually and find out what you've all picked out today. Let's start with you today, Darren. What have you picked out from the papers, please?
So I've got a few stories. I was going to mention briefly the one that you mentioned, the one about the working from home tax loophole closing. And the reason the HMRC are getting all hot under the collar of it about this is that prior to COVID, it only actually cost them, they reckon, about 2 million a year. But because of COVID and obviously lots of people work from home and lots of coverage drawing people's attention to it, there's now been 4.9 million successful claimants, and literally that's gone to over £2 billion worth of cost. So it's a huge increase. So that's one. I also caught my eye, this one in the Guardian, and it's an inflation story, and it's about a Japanese product. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing this correct, but called Umaibo, I think it is, yeah, which it apparently translates into delicious stick. This product's been going for 40 years and has never had a price increase, but they're now going to be increasing it by 20%. So it's causing a bit of a stir. However, just putting it into perspective, in UK money terms, the price is going from 8p to 12p. So I don't think it's a disaster. And then finally, because I've probably talked too long about those other two, good news for the retail sector. For the first time since 2018, there's been a quarter-on-quarter drop in the number of boarded up shops in retail centres, particularly in high streets, slightly less so in shopping centres. It's only a small move. I think it's gone down from, 14.5 to 14.4, but still, I think that's a sign of, I know we're going to be talking about confidence returning and the economy after COVID later, but it's further evidence of that, really.
Are these all mainly independent stores that are opening up, Darren?
The article said, yeah, independent stores, but also there's some fast-growing new retailers that have been only been going for 2 or 3 years. So it's a mixture of independents and new kids on the block that are growing fast.
And the other thing is
one would guess that the new kids on the block are not paying the same rents as the old kids that boarded their shops out.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I was going to say there's some fantastic deals. They've got the opportunity while they can, haven't they? And that leads us very on to you, Mike. Thanks ever so much for joining us today. I know you've flown in from Turkey. Bit of a snowstorm and drama as well. You've cracked a few ribs, I hear.
Yes, they had unprecedented snow in Istanbul, and we got delayed. So should have been here for a couple of days, but got back late last night and bust a couple of ribs whilst slipping on a icy cobbled street. So I'm hurting a little bit, I've got to be honest.
Well, thanks ever so much for joining us. So what have you picked out today, sir?
I just the one that made me laugh with your great picture there with Donald Trump was that he was on a little video taken at one of his golf resorts the other day, declaring himself to be the 45th and 47th presidents. So he's ever the optimist. That just made me giggle. But then I also picked up on two from the business section, which I think really highlight the difference between the haves and have-nots at the moment. And one of those is about Greencore, the sandwich maker, sandwiches on a massive scale, who have decided to pay out 30 million quid to their directors, but have decided not to pay back any of the money that they took from the government during the COVID crisis. So yeah, just an interesting bit of
no kind of morals there. Do you know what I mean? It's just unbelievable that they can
it gets better because the other one that jumped out at me is a payout for two stock pickers at Jupiter Asset Management who have decided to pay themselves 60 million quid each, and primarily that's based on the Klarna valuation. They put a lot of money into Klarna, who are the pay in 3 online credit provider. So yeah, whilst we use Klarna, it's a very useful way of promoting sales. They charge us, the seller, rather than the client. So whilst they are still increasing debt within the consumer base, they excuse themselves by saying that yes, we lend more money, but unlike the credit card companies, we're not charging prohibitive interest. But if those guys are taking 60 million quid a piece based on their Klarna stock picking, it'd be lovely to look at the other side of that and see how many millions of debt has been spread across the nation, buying disposable clothing and
it goes to show, doesn't it? It goes to show in a global pandemic how there's always winners and losers on each side of the fence, really. It really
yeah,
does.
I mean, Klarna, as I say, we use them. They're great, they're good to deal with, but it's just a strange one, isn't it? That down the road, a couple of asset managers have taken 60 million pounds each, wow. Which is actually unrelated, I should point out, totally unrelated to Klarna's performance, because Klarna still haven't made a penny.
That's the way business rolls. Okay, yeah. Kat, let's go to you then, please. Thanks so much for joining Punchline Talks today. I know you've been great on the Twitter and LinkedIn and pushing the show as well. So thanks ever so much for that. Okay, what have you picked out?
A couple of stories, very different. First of all, it's January, or the very end of January, and we all do like to have our New Year's resolutions. So I picked out the Dry Veganuary, which has taken hold this month and seems to have broken records in the supermarket shops, not only because of the meat-free products that are flying off the shelves, 140% increase in vegetable soups and vegan pastas, 100% increase in vegan milk at the supermarkets, and the Wicked Kitchen range is going through the roof. But it's a health and well-being thing, isn't it? And it'd be interesting to see if people are doing meat-free in January just for the 1 month, or they're seeing it as a health transformation for life, really. And they reckon, I don't know how they calculate this, but 2 million people are thought to have gone meat-free for the month of January, which is staggering numbers. The other big booming market is the alcohol-free market. Your alcohol beer, cider, alcohol-free beer, cider, wine, we're up 15% in January, and there's more and more product choice on the shelves for these products, as well as the meat-free products in the food aisles. So a very interesting developing sector, and let's watch that. So quite interested to track that from a health and well-being viewpoint. And then I think the picture that you showed, Mark, of the trains, I mean, if you look here, you can see this crowded platform of people going back to work, and not many wearing masks. A few, but there's certainly a real drop-off on mask wearing. And of course, my story is about care homes, again, close to my heart, and how next week they're going to be opening up the doors for visitors to go in and see their loved ones, and that they're now realizing the mental effect of residents in care homes being not seeing anybody and not having visitors is really taking its toll. And they're going to be opening up and reducing the isolation if they have got COVID in the home. So really interested to see how that plays out. Sajid David, Javid is urging care homes to do everything they can to get people back through the doors. It does worry me slightly, because then on the other side of the article, we've got Omicron gets a second wind.
Well,
so,
it's not a big surprise we've got all that many people getting on trains and not wearing masks.
I mean, look at it, amazing. Absolutely. So, it really is an interesting one. And already Sainsbury's and I can't remember who else it was, John Lewis, Tesco's have said that to their shoppers, please keep wearing your masks. So, we're easing the restrictions for COVID and protection, but then we're opening up as well, and we're telling people go around your daily business, and I just wonder.
They're trying to make it down to personal choice, isn't it? Now that's the crux of it. I just want to go back to your personal choice about vegan and no alcohol. I've been doing dry January for the first time ever. It's been absolutely bloody miserable, if you want to know the truth, and I'll never be doing it again. But me and Mrs. Owen, we don't drink during the week anyway, but we normally like a bottle of wine on a Friday or a Saturday and a Sunday. Anyway, but we've been trying these non-alcoholic lagers. It's funny you said sales are up 15%.
Fantastic.
I think I personally contributed a lot to that.
Yeah.
I've never drank so much alcohol-free Heineken, but we actually had 3 different types. We had Heineken, Peroni, and pardon?
Beck's Blue.
Beck's Blue, that was it, yes. Anyway, I would just like to report that the Heineken out of a glass, in a bottle, rather than a can, is the best.
Yes.
The other two.
Are we comfortable with this level of product placement on this forum?
We're gonna flog a few of your bikes in a minute, mate. I just want to say, the others tasted wee, but there we go. Right, okay, let's move on. Roger, that's a nice link, mate. Great to have you on the show. Roger, what have you picked out for us, please?
Okay, so I've got a couple of articles. The one I've picked out from the Times is about cyclists being classed the same as motorists. They're highlighting a particular situation where if you're on your bike and you get into an accident and it's more sort of reckless, then you could be held more responsible. And that is also hand in hand with the change with the driving DVLA and introducing a new updated highway code from Monday. So timing is very good. And it's basically introducing some changes and different rules. A lot of it, I think, is common sense. But from Monday, you've got this business of hierarchy of road users, which means that everybody's listed in a sort of order of vulnerability. But I don't know about everybody else, but I think when you're driving, a lot of it seems to be common sense. If you've got somebody on a horse or a bike, then clearly they're very more vulnerable to somebody in a bigger vehicle. So, but this article does highlight the issue that if you're a cyclist, you can get into an accident. Particularly this article's about pedestrians. If you actually kill or injure a pedestrian, then there's a consultation going on to actually make you more liable. And of course, with driving a car, you have to do the test, as we know, the part 1 and part 2 tests. But anybody can get on a bike and just go off down the road and actually get into an accident. And of course, there's not really much legislation to deal deal with that. And also then you've got the issue of liabilities and so on. So there's a lot going on at the moment, which hasn't had a lot of publicity with the changes to the highway code. I don't know if anybody's actually seen that, but there hasn't been a lot of publicity about it, and yet it all becomes, the updated highway code becomes live on Monday. So
to be honest, that brings me to
Roger, does it, I was going to say, does it cover, what are they called, those e-scooters?
there is some, again, it's I couldn't see actually anything. The article was about cyclists, but
Yeah, it doesn't. I know a little bit about this because we sell bikes, but it doesn't cover the e-scooters. It gives cyclists a bit more priority on the road.
Yeah.
But as you say, there's this separate issue about cyclists being a bit more liable, which I think is fair enough, you know. So I don't know if you know, Roger, but our business is bicycles. So yeah, sensitive subject.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting topic. I thought it was an interesting topic to bring up. I tried to bring up relevant topic. Yeah.
I just want to say about bicycles, right, if you don't mind, because it's a real pet thing of mine, apart from dog walkers and their dog poo, putting it in my hedge and put it in my garden waste. That's another thing I get. But anyway, cyclists jump in red lights. How many times do you see them jump through a red light and everyone else stops and they go powering through? Or another thing is when they don't wear any lights and they're completely dressed in black as if
in black.
I saw a guy the other day, he looked like a professional cyclist. I couldn't overtake him. He was going so fast down Bristol Road. He was going like 25 miles an hour. He had one little dinky light on the back. He was completely in black, his helmet. When I finally overtook him, he had no light on the front.
No.
Absolutely. And I think to myself, why these idiots are going to be bouncing off cars and then they blame everybody else. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, that's my Mike. We're just going to say, do your bikes have lights? Very quickly.
And no bike comes with a built-in light, but yeah, we sell lots and lots of lights. And I think, you know, more and more people have taken to their bikes over the last couple of years, and it's meant a couple of things. Is that, you know, drivers naturally get a little bit more cross when they're, especially in London, you know, in rush hour, you are surrounded by bicycles, which, you know, I firmly believe is a good thing.
Sorry,
but I do understand driver
Ukraine, you're surrounded by tanks. Sorry, I just want to say.
Yeah, but if cyclists continue to jump lights and take the mickey, they will damage, you know, their status on the road, and it's a big movement amongst the cycling community to make, you know, what we do more acceptable. So, you know, both of the things Roger's raised, they're actually sort of counterintuitive, because one is giving the bikes more priority, the other is taking away their sort of their ability to sort of get away with stuff. And I think in London, it really does need more control. And I would rather see cyclists getting pulled over for jumping red lights than I would seeing road rage from other users endangering them. And, you know, the cyclists that jump the red lights have got to think about what they're doing to the rest of the cyclists, because when the drivers start getting really angry, you know, they're in pole position, they're encased in a big lump of metal, and it won't go well for the cyclists. And we've seen that already. Yeah. So the cyclists need to be sensible. They need to not annoy Mark Owen. At least they're only annoying him when he's on his alcohol-free Heineken. And yes,
wear bright colours.
Yeah, wear bright colours. Put your lights on.
Don't get me. It's not a long enough program, but don't get me started about idiots about bells as well. Right? It is when you're walking along the canal, and then these bikes come up behind you, and they have no bell, they don't cough, they don't say anything. Anyway, right? Okay, Roger, I'm going to stick with you to give you a little bit longer, mate, because we are running out of time. Time always goes so quickly. Obviously, you're in cybersecurity and things like this. The council recently were hacked, computer hack. It's going to take them 6 months to get fixed. Yep. What's your thoughts on that, mate?
Well, it's a disaster, clearly. You don't need to be an IT super professor expert to realise that it's a big mess. And you know, this article, actually, this was going to be my punchline story from the other day, clearly. And this all started supposedly because somebody clicked on an email link that then started off the cyber attack. And actually, this is one of the most common ways systems get infected. But 6 months, up to 6 months to try and restore the systems is ludicrous. And what we find, obviously, cybersecurity is the biggest threat to people's IT systems nowadays. And what we find is a lot of people don't actually take it seriously enough in terms of spending money to mitigate any particular issues, because obviously you've also got, if you have a data breach as part of your cyber attack, then you can be responsible for that. And now, you know, that's all part and parcel of it. But if you've actually taken mitigation steps, you can show that, look, we've had this attack, but we've always done this. And training is a big thing. You know, don't click on that link is probably the biggest message. Be very wary because of the emails being the biggest threat. So the whole cyber thing is a big issue, and my message is people don't spend enough. I'm not particularly trying to sell stuff, but you have to do something about it. You know, everybody has to do something about it and take steps. And the council is just an extreme disaster. And to be out for up to 6 months, just think, Mark, you might not get your bin emptied on time for 6 months or at all. So you know, it's a total disaster. But my message is people don't do enough about cyber until it's too late.
Okay, nice way to finish there. Thanks very much for that, Roger. Right, Darren, obviously you're in marketing and PR. Let's talk about your own business. Are things going the right direction? Are companies coming out now full steam ahead, pushing you know, coming out the blocks, going for it?
They definitely are. I think there's a real good feel-good factor. And I would say on the whole that firms are spending more on marketing. And I don't just mean more than obviously like 2020 when lockdowns first happened, but I think compared to the more buoyant years like 2019, firms are spending more. The flip side of that, of course, though, is that some firms are doing so well, and I'm sure you experience this a bit, Mark, as well, that some firms actually at the moment don't need to market, because they're just getting so much demand, and indeed they're struggling to cope with volumes. Then why would you spend money doing more? And as a consultant, obviously, I would never advocate that. It's all about getting just the right amount of business as efficiently as you can. But no, there's a good feel-good factor.
It's funny, all three of us are in marketing. I think we've all probably lost business over the years where we've actually marketed a company too well, and the company says, we can't cope with demand anymore. We want to stop the campaign.
Yeah, the pipeline is full.
It's exactly like that, exactly like that. So I know that you look after Eagle Tower as well, Darren. That's one of your clients.
I do, yeah.
And so how's it been for them? Are people coming back to the offices now?
They are coming back. Obviously, with the work from home directive, unless you absolutely can't, numbers were greatly reduced to people going in. The heartening thing is, though, that they're seeing as many clients actually wanting more space than as many as wanting less. And again, in terms of inquiries are really, really strong, particularly on the small office side. Real mixture. Some people setting up new businesses. They're also seeing a lot of national businesses wanting to set up new regional bases in the town. And also people that maybe started the business, of course, in the last 2 years and did it from home, but now thinking they need to get on a proper footing. So it is really, really good. Yeah, they're hoping to see greater numbers starting to come back now.
Okay, that's great. Fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Darren. Mike, I'm going to go over to you. I'm going to flip over to change the screen here as well. So hopefully I can do this because I've actually set it up beforehand that we can have a look at your bikes, Mike.
Look at those beautiful bikes. You wouldn't shout at someone riding one of those, would you, Mark?
Well, it depends on the Mellor or light, mate. No, they are. Looking, when I first met you, start of the pandemic, and looking at these bikes. So what are sales like at the moment? Have you seen sales go down because people come? Because you've done extremely well, haven't you, during lockdown?
Well, we were hit. The supply chain and was disastrously hit, but we sold everything we had, and in 2020 we had actually ordered extra bikes purely by luck. We didn't see the pandemic coming, but we predicted well, and we had a really good stage delivery. So 2020 and 2021, we've done really well, and we've had record years. We've just finished the accounts for 21, and yeah, I thought 21 would be down on 20, but it's actually slightly up, and that was to do with being able to get stock.
Because Brexit was an issue
for big parts of 2020. We're just relying on forward orders. So yeah, the bubble has not burst. People are still turning to their bikes. London's lively at the moment as people go back to work but don't necessarily feel comfortable jumping on a absolutely packed tube. I spend a lot of time in London myself, and the traffic these past few months has been unbelievably bad, despite the lack of people in the offices, because people haven't wanted to ride the tube. So you go under the ground and you sit on pretty quiet tubes, but the traffic's been dreadful. So it's been it's a good time to ride a bike. Obviously a bit chilly at this time of year, a few rainy mornings, but if you've got somewhere to have a shower at work, you're going to be a lot quicker jumping on your bicycle than you are being sat in the traffic. I think the return to trains is an interesting one, because this thing hasn't just suddenly miraculously gone away, and anyone who's ever sat on a hot tube surrounded by people, I mean, it's like sitting in a petri dish, isn't it? So I think we could see a spike, but hopefully it's an Omicron spike and people don't get too ill. I mean, everybody I seem to talk to has had it and not been ill, so just got to keep fingers crossed that we don't end up back in a pickle.
No, and there's such fantastic range as well. I love the way that you change the wheels. Well, unfortunately, we're kind of running out of time there, Mike. Thanks ever so much for that. What's your best selling one out of all this, quickly?
The one right there. It's almost as if you knew, Mark. Yes,
as if we prepped it, Mike. As if
that Nero, the black Nero, which I think is, it's a nice, clean-looking thing, but it doesn't sell. It outsells everything. It's the cheapest. People like the black. I like the pretty ones, the varsity ones just below. But,
okay, right. Okay.
E-bikes are on the march as well.
Thanks ever so much for that, Mike. Absolutely love it. Okay, Kat, we're going to go back over to you then, please. Unfortunately, we'll have to try and keep it tight. But of course, you're a PR expert, you're a copyright expert as well. I know you do stuff for the trustees for Pied Piper, and you do all that charity work, but I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about your own business. How's it been for you over the last couple of years?
Well, it's been different, and having to pivot and find business and grow business and help smaller companies is where my strength lies. So adding value and is working as an extension to their team. As Darren said, that there is good signs and shoots are emerging that things are getting back and coming back, and people seem to be busy. When you talk to people, how are you? Oh, I'm busy. And it's like, well, are you really busy, or are you just saying that? So, but there are good signs, and companies that perhaps didn't do a lot of marketing are seeing that they need to do more marketing, a lot of digital content, a lot of SEO work to push them up on the visibility platform with their products. So there's a lot of social out there as well, a lot of content. I do a lot of blog writing as well, again with the the SEO organic growth in mind, and so keeping busy. Thank you, Mark.
Now, one of your clients is the water cooling company, isn't it?
Yes.
That's where you're based as well. How the hell do you keep writing so many interesting articles about one particular product? How do you do that?
There's money in water. No, fantastic, because water is life and we need it. And if you drink water and you are healthy, then you can fight off disease better. So thank you for that, Darren. So it's all part of the health and well-being message. Okay. The other message is the refill message, which means refill with your reusable, with a water cooler or a multifunction tap, and don't buy plastic and add to that plastic mountain, and the reduce, the reuse, the recycle. So there's a lot of environmental messages in there. There's a lot of health and well-being messages in there, and we just keep going. And the other thing that the WCD group is doing as well is looking at the cost of ownership of product. And we're just bringing out a rental option, so you can rent coolers and you can rent hot taps, which cost thousands. So you can really lower the cost of ownership and adoption of these products and spread it.
I just like the way you did mountain. the way you said mountain a product, and you actually did a little mountain. You've never done that before, Kat.
No,
Right,
no, going mad.
Okay, right, guys, we're kind of running out of time. So what have we picked out in this week's punchline? I'm going to go to you, Darren, first. What's the story from this week's punch? We're going to wrap it up very, very quickly, please.
Yeah, so I picked up the story that you ran on St James's Place, who, you pinpointed the fact that they're the 8th largest employer. They've just come out with their annual results. And in particular, they highlighted the last quarter of last year, where they saw investments go up from 4.2 billion to 4.69. Overall, across the whole year, the funds they now manage have gone up by 19%. And that's led to a significant increase in advisors. So I think overall, really good news, obviously, for Cirencester, but good news for the county overall.
No, fantastic. Roger, what have you picked out?
I'd go for the usual January story about people who haven't done their self-assessment tax return. It's always the way, and usually I'm one of them that's leaving it till the last minute, but actually I did mine back in August, so this year I'm feeling very righteous about it. But yeah, there's the punchline story the other day about, I think, 4 million people still yet to file. Ooh, panic.
Thank you very much. Mike, what have you picked out?
Locally,
On punchline.
yeah, I thought it was interesting. Well, there's two pieces sort of running simultaneously, but there was a lot of talk about this New Forest Green Rovers thing, wasn't there? Yeah. And the planning issues. Oh, there she is. And I just think it's interesting where we are near Junction 12. We're just up the road from that waste recycling thing. And you've got an eco-energy guy trying to build something, the only wooden football stadium in the country, surround it with an eco park that will benefit people's job, all quite pretty, all low rise. It seems like a fantastic project. And he's facing lots and lots of planning issues. And up the road, you've got that thing burning 3/4 of Gloucestershire's waste, yeah. Which is probably not a bad thing either. But,
Mike, I've got to tell you, when we saw the planning pictures for that, right, they had the pictures of it all looking like a stealth building, all camouflaged up. And the trees in the pictures were as tall as the building.
Yeah.
And you think, really? It's like, no one ever saw it that big. Anyway, thanks so much. No, great story. Kat, what have you got?
Well, like Mike, I picked up on Forest Green because we work with them as a hydration partner for refill. But, looking at the fantastic scheme they've got for Junction 13, they've got a care home, they've got a hotel, they've got a green tech business park, they've got a wooden 5,000-seater stadium, and they're hoping to bring 150 million to the local economy and generating 2 million a year in business rates for Stroud. So, it does seem to be a win-win story for football. I mean, it's going to have a fantastic accredited training facility there for women's football, kids football, senior football. So, yeah, it looks to be fantastic. My other story, quickly, have I got time? Is Cirencester College, as vice chair of Cirencester Rugby. T-level education. Hadn't heard of T-level, have you? It's like A-levels. One T-level equals 3 A-levels, which I didn't know about. But there's very few colleges in the Southwest that are accredited with this, and they've got a new building going on at Ciren College, hence the story. But it's fantastic. There's some courses at Gloucester, there's loads of courses at Cirencester College, and it's vocational. So 80% in the classroom, 20% on the job, with an employer. Fantastic. Love it.
There's some great positive stories. I'm just going to quickly, I had Forest Green Rovers, I had the Gloucestershire City Council. 2 for me, really. Congratulations to the Property Centre celebrating 25 years in business. That's a story we ran yesterday. And the other one, I can't miss this, it was the Taintons Curry Club.
Yay! Papa-dums.
And talk about things we should abstain from as I'm just about to say goodbye. Obviously, I know that some of you are an England fan. I might just give up supporting Wales. Anyway, and the end of that, thank you ever so much for joining Punchline Talks. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.